A very warm welcome. Today we have with us Mr. Ayush Varshney, who is the CTO at Testbook. A very warm welcome, sir. Thank you for joining at CXOTV.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for introducing me.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you at our platform. But before we begin with the entire discussion, especially around the Edtech industry, we would actually like to hear from you how your journey has been so far, and if you can share some insight with us, CXOTV audience.
Sure. Hi, I am Ayush. I have been leading the technology for Testbook for more than 5 years now. I joined sort of early stage in the journey when Testbook was just starting up. We had a couple of million users. From there, right now we are at a very good scale. We have around 4 crore users that are registered on the platform that prepare heavily from Testbook. In this journey, probably around 15 months back, we also had a merger with ClassPlus. That is another edtech company in India, which provides sort of technology solutions to coaching partners and teachers and educators and creators to create and launch their own apps. Since then, we've been doing some synergies. We've been growing really well, both in terms of how Testbook and ClassPlus are doing. Testbook right now has over 2.5 million active paid subscribers. We are known for our quality and affordability. We've got a product called Testbook Pass that is used by almost 1/3 of every exam aspirant in India, where we provide them a huge amount of assessment content, learning content that they're able to get at less than $10 a year. So which is something which is very cheap and very useful for the Tier 3, Tier 4 countries. I think that is what we are largely doing. We have been focusing on making it more and more accessible, more and more better, especially with a lot of AI help that has come in the last 1.5 years. We've tried to make it highly personalized. I think that is largely what we're doing and these days. We can go ahead.
Sure, sir. I think you have given an insight onto how the industry at war and how it's actually Testbook is doing innovation within the industry and also helping the students, which is a great medium, definitely. Also, when we actually talk about EdTech industry, we have actually seen a significant transformation, as you mentioned, about AI changing the entire process of it. So can you share some insight into the key technological trends and innovations that you believe have especially changed the journey of the EdTech industry?
I'll take us 3 years back. 3 years back, India was just getting the Geo internet, which was making it easy and accessible for everybody to access internet at 4G speeds in remotest towns of the country. To give more context about Testbook, Testbook does exam preparation for all kind of government exams. These exams range from right at the top your UPSC IAS exams to small railways exams, where government opens up some vacancy, they then launch an exam, people register for it, and then they give that exam. Majority of our student base is from this Tier 3, Tier 4 towns, where having a government job is like a big dream for those students, and they don't really have good access to good teachers, because to get good quality teachers or good quality content, they have to move to a metro city or to a large city, which is not very affordable because they have to manage their living expenses. Then there is a coaching cost. So that is where we sort of come in. COVID sort of accelerated that journey because people could not get a chance to go to an offline center. So they started adopting online learning. There, I think a big technological trend that we started seeing was live classes. So that is where this is a live recording of a session. Similarly, how students learn in Testbook is they come and join a live class where a teacher is teaching them live. They can interact with the teacher can interact with those students. So I think that is in 3 years back, that was a huge technological trend and shift. People were able to take those live classes at scale. We would see 2,000 people joining a class, coming to a live class, And that is where our technology was also focused, because we were also building all of this in-house, since we want to keep it very, very, very affordable, so that we are accessible to each and everybody who wants to prepare for an exam. We had to keep our technology costs very low. So we built all of this in-house. So there a huge technology shift that we saw for us and a lot of edtech companies was building live learning. So I think that was at the start of the COVID, or probably like a year behind COVID. Last 1.5 years, I think it has a lot been about personalization, about how we can use and leverage students' preparation data to help them prepare better with the help of machine learning and AI, and also serve them with a lot of variety of content. So earlier, let's say if you're preparing for a UPSC exam and there is a particular polity subject that you opted for, there were only limited questions and limited answers that you could see. But with generative AI, we've sort of, it has become possible for us to create a huge variety around those questions. So almost every type of question that you could encounter in a book or maybe in the real exam, you could have seen already a textbook. So that, I think that has helped us to, and we could do it at very affordably, because earlier we needed subject matter experts to write everything. Now they just review it. So I think that is one huge area where this generative AI thing is working for us. And the larger AI aspect is working in terms of helping students, tell them, identify where they're weak, where they need more effort, because then it becomes like a personal tutor. So even though they're not learning from an individual personal tutor, but the AI and the machine learning behind Testbook is helping them act as a personal tutor who's there at every point of the way, telling that this is your weak area, this is your strong area, you need to practice this more or you need to learn this more. So I think that is where we see the trend today.
All right. So we, what we understand in Testbook is making the entire process more. I think it's going to be a very good initiative that you have taken, and at the same time making it affordable is a very primary concern. And as you mentioned, how the industry, especially in the education sector, has transformed, and people accepting the culture of online session or online learning has evolved after the pandemic or during the times of the pandemic. So COVID has accelerated this entire e-learning platform. So how exactly do you think that this sudden surge in demand impacted the edtech industry's approach to technology as well as infrastructure?
I think it did what could have happened in the next 10 years. It did that in those 3 years.
Absolutely, yes.
It would have anyways happened. We had already seen the trend coming, where people were accepting online learning. They were there's a lot of inertia where you want the teacher in front of you, you want to be able to raise your hand, ask something in person, study in person. So there was a lot of inertia that we saw at the beginning, but COVID, since COVID forced it, people had to do it, and then they started liking it and seeing its benefits. They did not have to spend that time traveling to a coaching center or living in a different city, spending that money and time living in the different city. They could do it from the comfort of their homes and at much lower the cost. Our cost
is a very primary thing that is being able to cut down.
And the same quality. It's not like that you're actually, it's not cheap, it's affordable, what we'll call it. So like the quality is still same or even better, because earlier they had access only to local teachers. Now they have access to the best teacher in the country. So I think that is one major shift that COVID has brought up. Also, it speeded up our technology, sort of the edtech technology that was required, the live learning that was required to sort of actually make it possible. Since that race began, a lot of people sort of invested in it. We also invested heavily in it. And now we are seeing the benefits of actually building that.
So now, as you were mentioning a while back about how AI or Gen AI is actually helped Testbook with their technological innovations. So can you discuss more onto the role of artificial intelligence and machine learning in order to enhance the learning experience within the edtech sector, and also what are some of the most promising applications of these technologies?
So I'll split it into both Gen AI and machine learning separately. We've been using machine learning for some time for various activities, for identifying how difficult a question is, how to prepare a question paper that would actually meet the difficulties for the actual question paper, because you cannot make it really, really difficult, because then the student will get demotivated. They will see that this is not really a exam that is similar to the actual exam. We have to make it predict how the exam will be and sort of make it in that direction. So there we've been using machine learning a lot earlier, also to recommend content. So identify, let's say you're preparing for an exam A, then automatically our engine will tell you these are two similar exams that you could be preparing for that you didn't know about because you hadn't heard about them. So I think these were areas where we're already using it. With the whole sort of GPT and chat GPT and Gen AI revolution, I think what it did for us was where we could now create a very large quantity of content across a huge variety at the same cost. So earlier, let's say a content creator or somebody who's writing those questions or creating those study notes, that person could create, let's say, 10 questions a day. And now they could do it like, let's say, 50 questions a day, because the key writing aspect of it is sort of outsourced to that GPT technology. We've also integrated heavily in our learning management system. So they don't really have to go to a different platform. And we've sort of personalized it for our needs, where they are able to use generative AI inside our learning management system. So there, I think it has helped. Now this to help students because now they get a huge variety. Earlier, they were restricted to the lesser number of questions, the lesser number of content that we could provide. Now they get much higher variety, so they can practice more. So they don't have to go to another platform, or they don't have to go to buy extra books or buy extra mock papers. So I think that is where we've used generative AI heavily. AI in general has also sort of seen a huge revolution because of Gen AI, where you will see normal AI applications sort of growing. So there, I think we're using it heavily to identify people's strengths and weaknesses. So we could very accurately tell you that you are going to clear your maths paper for this exam. So I think that is one great thing. Or you will not clear your maths exam because you're weak in calculus or algebra. So that is one area that we're sort of heavily working on, and we're seeing very good traction on it.
So this way, actually, student gets the motivation either to improve where they are lagging behind, and if they are confident, then they get more confident enough to attend the paper. So that's great. So now, as you were mentioning a while back about affordability, especially the underdeserved regions and the people who are disabled. So what are some of the strategies that today's Edtech platform are taking to make it more accessible to these kind of students?
So I think smartphone accessibility is something that Jio solved us for. So we didn't really have to worry about people not having smartphones. So there's probably a smartphone in every home right now. So there we don't really have to go. What we did was that since how Testbook works is there's a lot of free content. So for people who cannot even afford those $400-500 for our base subscription, so there's still a huge amount of free content that they can use to learn. So I think there, and that is just offered for free. Like there's nothing, no payment, not even a single rupee that is charged for it. And that in itself is good enough to prepare for a huge amount of exams. Plus, we do a lot of free classes. So like every day, every hour of the day, there will be some free live classes that will keep happening on the platform where you can come and just join. For a business, how it helps is it helps people decide. They come and see the platform, use it, and then they can decide whether they want to spend that money here or not. For the students, it helps that even if they're not able to pay, then they are able to sort of continue their learning exercise. But I think the larger theme that we've seen here is that since the base product is so cheap, which is like $500, then people are able to sort of find that affordable enough. And that is good enough for the preparation. So that is one thing that we've done really well.
You mentioned about live classes which are free of cost. So how many classes have been accommodated in a day study?
So I think around 100 to 150 classes happen every day across various exams, across various categories at different hours of the day. So mostly during the waking hours, they start from right 6 a.m. in the morning till 10 or 11 p.m. So they keep happening. They could be somewhere around tips and tricks. They could be some topic being covered end to end. So there will be various themes around which these are very similar to YouTube classes. Let's say a lot of people do those classes on YouTube. We also do them on YouTube as well. But here you get that interactivity. So here you can ask those questions directly. You can answer those polls. So all of that interactivity that you get in an actual learning experience. So that we are able to give them.
Yeah, in Testbook platform, it is a live version, and in YouTube, it's a recorded one. You believe?
Yes. In YouTube also we do some live classes, but since we don't have control over the interface there, it's just like you're watching a live channel. You cannot interact with it. A live interactive class can happen on the platform, but normal live classes happen on YouTube.
That's great. So I know we would also like to understand that with this significant hurdles that edtech companies face in terms of technological adoptions, how can these challenges be overcome?
I think a big challenge that we still face is that even though those mobile internet has gone very deep and has good roots now, it's still not that, it's still fluctuating. So what happens is if you're watching a live class and you lose that, you see some buffering or lose that internet even for those 10 seconds, then you've missed that context. And now you can either go back and continue watching in a past 10 minutes type of scenario, or you will lose whatever was taught in that duration. So I think, so that is one area where we still, we've seen much better growth in the last 3-4 years. But I think that is one area where we still feel there are challenges. We've been trying to optimize our technology, our bandwidths heavily so that people don't see a buffering or don't get interrupted in a live class, even if there is a slower internet for some time. But I think, again, this limited control at our end, because it ends up happening at students' internet end. I think that is one area where we're still working on, where we still see something could improve. Other than that, I think we're good in terms of technology, in terms of how people are adopting. I think past 6 months or 1 year has been generally a little less great for edtech, especially because of the news around Byju's and lots of negativity around that. But we've not seen much negative impact on us. Because of that, we've always been focused on the outcome. For us, outcome is where student gets that exam cracked or that rank. I think as long as a company stays focused on that outcome, I think they're doing great here.
You mentioned about how bandwidth variations can cause a problem in terms of missing out on to the important portion. So I just wanted to understand, is there a recorded version of it in the platform as well, so that people can visit and learn the content again?
Yes, we have all the versions, so they can watch the recorded version, they can download it, watch it offline, but you miss that interactivity of the class. Because
exactly.
you missed that interactivity of the class because you got that buffering, or you missed that asking the right question to the teacher when the teacher was live. So I think that is the major bandwidth issue. But yes, we have we offer them recording. A lot of people are not able to attend. They have some other thing, so they watch it later. But
so we are in the edtech industry. We are also seeing this personalized learning which you were talking about. So, when we talk about edtech industry, there's an immense amount of data as to how the students are performing. So, how do you think that those data could be leveraged to provide personalized learning experiences while at the same time respecting the privacy regulations?
I think good part about us is that the data that we are collecting is primarily on their academics. That is not any behavioral data or any personal identifying data that sort of creates a privacy concern for the student. And how we are leveraging it is primarily by telling them, like I said, where you're good at, where you're weak at. So that is like a very simple layer of data, but it helps add a lot of value to the students. A big struggle that every edtech company faced was when you call personalized learning, then you probably want to say that, every course looks different for every student. That initially sounded very good for everybody, but didn't work. Because whenever a teacher is teaching or you're having a live class, it comes with a fixed schedule. Even if you're learning offline, the coaching, the overall schedule of the year is more or less defined. If you play around with it too much, then also the students get confused because they have to learn some topics as precursors to some other topics. You cannot learn some advanced calculus before learning calculus. So you have to study in a particular order. So that order, personalization in that order is something that we tried, didn't work. A lot of companies tried and didn't work. But identifying what to practice more or where you're already good at, that has worked really well. And right down to the extreme topic level where, this topic you need to study, this topic you're already doing good, and this topic you've not practiced at all. So telling that, I think identifying it and telling that student and then offering them resources to study. Let's say we'll tell you that you're weak at a particular topic, then we'll give you some resources where you could become better at them. So I think that is the major personalized learning. Privacy is not that big a concern, again, because this is all academic data. This is not data that's, something that could be leveraged against them or something that could be used to target them. And most of this data is generated after you've purchased a product. So we also really can't use that data to, upsell them a lot or cross-sell them a lot. But I think it helps them identify their strengths and weaknesses better. That is where I think that entire data play is working.
So, in terms of the cybersecurity attacks, as you mentioned, it might be then minimal, or how exactly is it?
We still face a lot of attacks. Being a B2C tech company, it's very hard to not face attacks, be it from those ethical hackers or be it from a lot of other areas, because we managing such large infrastructure, having so many user-facing services. We have a security charter. We have we have roadblocks in place that prevent. We've not ever been hacked. We've not seen any breaches till date. Hopefully that stays the same. But I think, yes, it is still a big priority for us, even though we don't have API data, but we do have their basic information data, their mobile phone numbers, their locations. We do have that kind of data that really needs protection. And we also have our content that needs protection, because we have rather than privacy, piracy becomes a huge concern, because all of these classes, all of these high quality teachers, their content can get easily stolen and then spread across Telegram groups or spread across free channels. So I think data protection becomes a big challenge for us, where we ensure our videos don't leak, our classes are not accessible without authorization. So I think that data content protection becomes a big piece for us.
So, how exactly do you ensure that the resilience of your platform against cybersecurity threats are being maintained?
So I think we have, in our security charter, we have a firewall in place. We have a lot of rate limiters that make sure that, we're not getting any unauthenticated requests. The entire access of our infrastructure is behind a VPN, where you're going to access it outside. You can access it inside. So we're running on public cloud, but we are managing it inside a strict virtual control. So I think that is where we prevent. And I think a lot of it happens through processes. Most of these attacks are the major bottleneck becomes a human who leaked some key or who responded to some phishing message. So I think we constantly educate everybody in the team who's got some access to make sure that they don't fall prey to any of these phishing attacks or any of those attacks that could, compromise their laptops or MacBooks. So I think that is one big area that we found really helpful. But yes, I think we were doing good in security through all of these things.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Lastly, we would actually like to understand how the roadmap, the future of the edtech industry, you think would be shaping in the next 2 to 3 years to come by, and what would be the top focus areas, if you can let us know on that.
I think from a company's perspective, our focus area has been and will continue to be the outcome. We're really not concerned about how many paid users come on the platform. We are much more concerned about how many selections we're able to drive, or the percentage of selections that's happening through somebody who's preparing from Testbook. So I think the company's broader objective would still be the outcome, where people are able to crack those exams and get those jobs after preparing from Testbook. From a technology perspective, I think a large focus area for us would be to bring that analytics layer even more human friendly, make it very, very easy for people to understand, where they need to work harder. So I think we really can't force feed somebody to learn, right? We cannot change their gray cells, but we could tell them, how to work harder. We've made the product UX very simple so that people can easily adopt, easily get used to learning on a small mobile app. But I think there's still a lot of work that we can do there, where it feels like they are actually learning in a small classroom, very similar to how it used to happen. We've not really worked heavily on cross-student learning. So that peer learning is something that we see that will grow because you map it to an offline world, like 10 years back. So there were two major advantages of a physical classroom. You get to see the teacher in front, interact in live with that teacher, and you also get a peer group where you can ask your to discuss what's happening, what's not happening. That peer group also motivates you to study harder. So I think the first part is done for most of the edtechs, where you have a live classroom. The second part is still remaining, where that peer group gets formed, people are able to meet like-minded people and study with them. So I think that is another area that will sort of take shape over the next 2 to 3 years. Generative AI has already sort of become a very integral part of most techs, where they're creating lessons, they're creating content using generative AI. I think that will continue to grow in the current pace.
Okay. I think what you mentioned about peer learning, I think that would be a great initiation in terms of the edtech industry, which is nobody can motivate you more than your friends or mates that you're learning with. So thank you, sir, for sharing such insights and knowledge and the initiatives taken by Testbook. So thank you for joining and sharing with us your time.
Cool. I think thank you for having me. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.